I have no effing idea how I'm going to do that. But it didn't
Mhm.
matter. It's you start. And the only what I thought of is I want to accelerate human connection. And to do that, the way to push this out is to create what I call an energetic tidal wave. To team up with people who really resonated with me, who I felt were relevant in these spaces, who I could team up with and create this energy to spread out to keep building it with enough momentum
Right.
to push it forward. And for me, yeah, I mean, I can get buried in all day trying to figure some of these things. I've spent months and months to get to work, but I'm obsessed with it. I won't give up. And that's anybody could do this stuff, whatever it is. It's just we give up way too soon.
This is the Onward Podcast, a weekly podcast featuring authentic conversations on facing adversity, moving forward, and discovering ourselves along the way. I'm your host, Emily Harmon, and Jason Leibowitz is my guest today. We conducted this interview live a few months ago. I conduct all of my interviews live on LinkedIn at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesdays. That's 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So feel free to join us live because you can post your comments, post any questions that you have for the guest, and just engage in the conversation. It makes it really fun. Today, Jason and I are talking about accelerating human connection and transforming lives. Jason values connection over convenience, and he's on a mission to accelerate human connection and transform 1 million lives by 2025. Jason is the founder of XXO Connect, a social platform that facilitates real connection, real community, and real conversations. Also, with XXO Connect, you can eliminate trying to gain likes, followers, and the pressure of posting on social media. And finally, listen and learn why Jason says XXO Connect is the cure for both the loneliness and isolation epidemic and fear of vulnerability and intimacy. This is an awesome conversation. Jason and I talk about not only connection, but about how to make decisions quickly, how to get to know yourself, how to date yourself, how to love yourself, the difference between transformation and motivation, and you're never too old to learn. Let's cut to the interview. Jason, welcome to the Onward Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Well, I'm excited to be here too, except for, I kind of wish I was where I was supposed to be. Remember, did I tell you where I was supposed to be today? I don't know. I told you a while ago. I'm supposed to be hiking at Machu Picchu. That's where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in Peru right now. And then the trip got canceled. We were supposed to go last year, a year ago, and then it was rescheduled. And now they moved it to September. But I can't go that time in September. So I don't know. I don't know when I'll ever get there, but hopefully one day.
Instead, we get to enjoy this company today, and you'll still to go there.
I'm glad that we were able to schedule this, and I'm really looking forward to talking with you because the topic that we're going to talk about is all about social media and what you've set up with your new, I don't know if you call it site, program. What do you call it?
It's a social network. It's a private social network. It's a platform.
Yeah. So, and what you've set up with that. And I think you recognize the fact that, people are really tend to be concerned or get stressed out over the number of likes they have or the number of views that there are. And we tend to compare ourselves to other people and see, well, he has that many likes, she has that many, my post must have sucked, and I'm not good enough. And all of that spiral that you can go down. And I guess you noticed that and wanted to do something about it. And so you didn't wait for them, whoever they are, to do it. You're like, I want to do it.
We're valuing our worth based on likes, followers, how many connections, how many friends we have. I mean, we're living in a metrics-based world, and we're living out of comparison. Like we're truly basing our worth on those metrics.
Even when you say you're not, even when people say they're not, I think subconsciously we still are.
The way I look at it is at the end of the day, as human beings, we just want to be accepted. We don't want to be rejected.
Right.
And so all these different ways to be accepted into our communities, except for we haven't accepted ourselves. Because if we accepted ourselves and have that relationship, that healthy relationship with ourselves, that healthy boundary, we wouldn't need it externally. So we're searching externally for that validation and attention to provide that temporary artificial happiness. And we can get stuck in that loop. It's a non, that loop does not end.
So you recognize yourself in that loop and decided to do something about it?
I didn't recognize myself in that particular loop, but I did recognize that something needed to be done about it. There's other parts of my life that I did not have a healthy relationship with, one with myself in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw this in different parts of what was going on, and it made sense to me.
Yeah. But do you want to talk about that? Because the Onward podcast is about facing adversity, moving forward, discovering ourselves along the way. So do you want to
Absolutely.
talk about what happened in your life that helped you discover yourself and like
Absolutely.
yourself?
I love myself.
Love yourself.
Yeah. So I was in many unhealthy relationships, and I would repeat the relationship with essentially the same person with a different name. It would just be again and again in these toxic, unhealthy relationships. And it comes to a point where you have to there's an awareness that it keeps continuing. This keeps happening. It's not, has nothing to do with my partner at this time. There has to be an accountability on your part.
Yeah.
And that's when it really opened up a long transformation for me, quite a journey of the connection to myself, the relationship with myself. And if I had that at the time, that deep self-worth, that self-love, those healthy boundaries, I never would have been caught up in those cycles, those types of relationships, if you want to call them.
Yeah.
But
No,
but
I
but I'm so
completely
happy
agree.
that it's all part of the journey that I would never trade it in for anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all part of the journey. I mean, it took me a while to see. I remember when, I was married to my children's father and he was verbally abusive. And when I finally got the courage to leave, which someone would look at me and say, Emily, you're a Naval Academy graduate, you were officer in the Navy, and you put up with that for 7 years. Yeah. And when I finally got the courage to leave, the counselor said to me, because I was there telling him about everything about this guy, he does this, and this. And he said, well, when are you coming back after that session? And I'm like, well, why do I need to come back? Because this was kind of for putting together the case for the divorce. I'm like, why do I need to come back? He goes, because you need to look at why you put up with that. You need to look at yourself. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know that I really got that until much later. So I've been like, I can relate to what you're saying about the relationships, and it's easy. And one of my coaches recently said, when you point the finger at somebody, you have 3 fingers pointing back at you.
It's so true. Connection begins within and travels outward. It's not the reverse of it. And so if you don't have that connection to self first, you're never going to have it with anybody else.
How do you find that?
Through doing the inner work, going inwards, spending time with yourself, getting to know yourself, dating yourself. The inner work, surrounding yourself with a community of people, like-minded, supportive people. But it's doing the work. It's really getting to know yourself instead of constantly going to the noise, to the distraction of which social media can be, all these platforms. It's a distraction from spending time with ourselves. So it's like going without to go within. At times, putting this device down or being very careful of what you're selecting. It's boundaries.
Yep. I mean, and everyone has a way of avoiding what they really need to look at. And my way was staying busy, working, staying busy, focusing on my kids, putting them first and everything. When I really needed to take that time to look into myself. So, yeah. So I love that. And I just wish that whoever's watching and other people that watch this later and listen to this can find that for themselves if they haven't already, because it's worth it.
It's absolutely, it's if you're going to live your life, or you're going to choose to live somebody else's life. And that's what it comes down to.
And sometimes you don't recognize it in yourself, though. It takes a while. It takes something to kind of wake you up. I don't know.
It's transformation. Transformation begins overnight, but does not happen overnight. And, there's a big difference between change and transformation. Change, I can change right now. I can change my shirt. I can do things instantly, but I'm
Mhm.
going to put another shirt on. I'm going to go back. Transformation is unwiring and rewiring, where we're not going back. We truly are not the same person we were in the past. It's not living in the past.
Yeah. And it's that inner work. It's kind of like, I mean, it takes work. It takes day to day for, like working on it and focusing on it and being aware of what you need to work on. And it's kind of like, maybe this is a good analogy. You know how you go to a conference and you come back all psyched, like you learned so much, you have all this insight,
Mm,
but then you go back into your regular habits, right? You
that's
don't really
that's
apply it.
that's caffeine. That's motivation.
Hmm.
Motivation like caffeine. I can have a cup of coffee. I can be jacked up for a couple hours, and then I'm gonna come down again,
Right.
and I'm back
Go
to the
right
same
back to our
place. I
habit.
did. That's a change that I went right back. There's no transformation during that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You have to actually apply it, and it's like working muscles.
Mhm.
If you train and then you stop training, things go back. You keep training. There's no end to this.
There's no
It-
end.
There's no end to it.
That's why you also have to enjoy the journey along the way.
Love, yes. You have to enjoy your life too. And I think I see both sides where people will spend so much time in the personal development
Hmm.
to the point of they don't actually enjoy their lives, and they're never, there's a balance to it.
Hmm.
They're so involved with it because they haven't actually had built the confidence. So they'll keep reading and reading and researching and learning, but not
Hmm.
apply the principle to the application and bring it out into life, which
Yeah.
is also becomes like an excuse or like hiding behind it. It's a very weird balance.
Oh, I get that because I see
Yeah.
that. I see myself sometimes tending to do that.
Mm,
And I had a coach once that said, you've got to be the client. You've got to, whatever you're working on with the client, that's what you've got to be too. So when you're saying clear clutter, you've got to have your place clear of clutter. When you're saying do that meditation in the morning, you've got to be doing that. So I'm doing a lot better at not just talking the talk, but actually doing those things. And that's what is really transformational when you actually do. Like once I joined the gym and I walked by it every day on the way to work, and I didn't get stronger. I guess you had
mm.
to go in, and I had to go in and actually lift the weight.
It's amazing what happens though when you do that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about your community that you established.
Our community is incredible. I love our community. So what I wanted to do was create a social network that eliminates all of social media. So if you think about all social networks, essentially are social media. But when you strip it down to there's no posting, there's no gaining likes, there's no followers, there's no friends, connection request. It strips all of that down. It eliminates that. It's not a business platform. So what is left? The only thing that is actually left is human connection. It's a platform built for connection to self first and then others. It's a wellness, personal growth, transformational type platform. And what we have, I say weekly, but actually it'll be now daily and multiple daily live interactive classes where our members have access to all these amazing, incredible teachers throughout the days and weeks. And they're not courses and they're not classes in terms of they don't feel clinical.
Mm-hmm.
They're closed off to our members where they open up, they can see each other during the class, they can open up and they have these very vulnerable, intimate conversations. They start to open up and things they've held out, for years, or they've never opened up before. In all these classes, they start to open up and have real conversations with whoever is the expert for that hour with them. We have all different teachers we have therapists, talking about anxiety. We have spiritual transformational coaches. We have sex and intimacy relationship coaches talking about connection, intimacy, sexuality. We have mindset, self-love, self-worth. We dive into so many different areas, but people start to open up in our classes and have real conversations. They can be really raw conversations. What I wanted to do, and I'm going to build that up to 24/7 live programming. And starting in a couple of days, starting in May, we will have now 9 full-time teachers with us. Incredible humans teaching throughout the week. We have daytime, nighttime conversations. We also launched our own app that's now in the App Store, where our members can share in one-on-one video conversations. It's a video chat, almost like a WhatsApp, but it's exclusive to us, where it's not by phone number either. So nobody from the outside world can come in, and nobody from our membership can import their contacts. It's only our XXO Connect members. You can video chat any of our members. You have access to all members. As an XXO Connect member, you are connected with all other members. Where we're taking this also is we're about to launch a singles community.
Oh, I need to join it.
This is, and this comes back to where I started from, was my search for having to be in a relationship, but never really dating myself, not having the relationship with myself, and being stuck with all of the dating apps, which there's so many, but they're all the same.
Yeah, they are.
And how, as someone who really wants a true partnership, or really wants a relationship with themselves, who's in our space, we talk about wellness, personal growth, personal development, transformation, all these things that we love. Well, what if you were surrounded by like-minded people who were that into this? You're in these classes with everybody. You're actually having conversations, getting to know them, having these social community hours as well. But you're surrounded by people who are also single. So we're going to be integrating a singles community as well. No profiles, no dating apps.
No profiles, no pictures, no swipe right or left and wondering if someone likes you or not based on just a quick snapshot of a picture.
Gone.
So how is it different than Clubhouse? And some people that are listening may not know that much about Clubhouse, but one thing I can tell, because I haven't been in your system yet, but one thing I can tell the way it's different is that in Clubhouse, you may not have likes, but you have followers.
Yep.
And if you don't have a lot of followers, then maybe you're not as cool as the other person. I don't know.
Clubhouse seems to be becoming an addiction for so many, because at any given time there's stuff going on, and people have a fear of missing out. One thing we do too is we have an on-demand video library. So all of our classes are recorded and live in it's almost like a YouTube type video library inside our network, does not leave our network. But we are visual too. First off, Clubhouse is audio only.
Right.
Which to me, that's not intimate. That's not really getting to know everybody.
We do so much based on like body language and gestures and looking people in the eye. And
well, you and I are present right now. There's no distraction. Like you and I, while we're sharing a cup of, this, but there's no distraction. When you do Clubhouse, you're like multitasking. You're listening, you're consuming, but you're doing something else, which there's nothing wrong with that. And there's a place for it.
Mm-hmm.
We've created an intimate environment to really get to know each other and ourselves. And it's not just consuming, but you're involved in the conversation.
So how many people are in these different conversations? Can you feel like it's overwhelming? Are there like hundreds of people in a conversation, or is it a smaller group, or how does that work?
We launched 3 months ago. It's not overwhelming, but also we keep adding more classes. So we're hitting different time zones and different options. So as I said, I want to get to 24/7 live programming every hour. So it'll never feel overwhelming.
So like, are you like a computer geek or something? Like I wouldn't even know how to set this up. Like, how do you know how to do all this?
Just being a practitioner, jumping in and learning stuff, trying different technology and trying to figure out how to put it together. And that's kind of how it is. And as things grow and build, I'll increase the technology as well. But it's just been jumping in and learning it and playing with it, and stuff I didn't understand, figure out how to understand it.
So when you like, is your background in computers?
No, I mean, I very little, a little bit, but not to the point of, I brought in developers of things that I wanted to figure out how to do. Some stuff I did myself, but I had a development team build out the app, a lot of the technology behind how everything works. I had to just try a bunch of different technology that's out there and figure out which one is best for what I felt would resonate and work with our platform.
I got distracted a little bit because it just said they're having trouble streaming on Facebook. So I just ignored that. So I missed that. So like, I'm trying to relate, you know, how we relate to things through our own experiences. Like I worked for the Navy for so long, and then I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast, but other people are starting a podcast, but I didn't know how to start a podcast. You're like, I want to start a whole new community, but there weren't a lot of whole other communities out there, except for the big ones like Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. I mean, so what made you feel like you could do that?
It was a download from the universe. I woke up at 4. Well, I didn't wake up. I wake up at 4 o'clock every morning, but I woke up at 4 o'clock on a Saturday morning in June. I should back up. XXO first started off as an offline matchmaking service. That's where this whole thing started.
Okay.
And a weekly podcast. But when I launched a month later, COVID happened where people couldn't meet in person.
Okay.
So that's so fast forward then to this past June at 4:31 in the morning, I was doing a meditation and breath work, and I had the visual. I saw this whole thing. And that day I just started to figure out how to do it. And I haven't stopped since. And now the platform's built. We launched 3 months ago. Our app came out, hit the app stores a couple weeks ago. We're about to launch the singles community, which there is no blueprint. A lot of these things, you can get kind of blueprints and understand some of the technology and how to do things. Some of the stuff where I'm going with hasn't been done. And so that's the beauty. There's no right or wrong. You learn as you go. You can't mess things up.
Yeah. So one of the things I coach on is creating a life of your dreams, right? Mm-hmm. And a dream is what you had. I mean, it's not a dream. It's coming from your intuition. You're getting this download and you don't know how to do it. Like that's different from a goal. A goal is, you know all the steps to get there, but you had this dream, you had this vision, you had this download, and you didn't know how you were going to get there, but you just started working and you just started moving towards it, and you believed in it. And as you got closer and did what you could with what you had and what you knew that day, then the more and more came to you. But I think, and you're figuring it out. But so many people get this download or get an idea or a dream, and then their left brain says, "You idiot, there's no way you could do that. Who do you think you are?" And they don't go after their dream. Why did you go after it?
It's an obsession. I'm obsessed with it because so that day when I've had that download, I said I want to transform 1 million lives by 2025, which means 1 million members by the end of 2025. And to answer that, and I'll kind of edit this, but I would say at the time, I have no effing idea how I'm going to do that. But it didn't matter. It's you start. And the only what I thought of is I want to accelerate human connection. And to do that, the way to push this out is to create what I call an energetic tidal wave, to team up with people who really resonated with me, who I felt were relevant in these spaces, who I could team up with and create this energy to spread out, to keep building it with enough momentum,
right,
to push it forward. And for me, yeah, I mean, I can get buried in all day trying to figure some of these things. I've spent months and months to get to work, but I'm obsessed with it. I won't give up. And anybody could do this stuff, whatever it is. It's just, we give up way too soon.
Have you read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill?
No.
You should. I mean, you're doing what it says in that book. And what he was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie back during the time of the Depression to write a book about how people got wealthy and how, so he spent 25 years writing this book. And he interviewed so many different people. And when I say, and I think he used the term rich because it was right around the Depression and people needed money, right? But rich can be coming up with it could be an abundant life. It could be creating your dream, right? They do talk about money in the book, but he says you have to have a burning desire. You have to have a passion. He's got these 6 steps. I can't remember them all, but you have to have this burning desire. And you have to be very specific. You didn't say, I want to reach a whole bunch of people as soon as I can. You said, I want to reach 1 million people by 2025.
Yeah.
You don't know how you're going to do it, but you said it.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably, and then you have to say, what he says in the book is you have to come up with how you're going to do that in terms of what are you going to give to get that. You're giving to people, like for my goal, I'm doing it through coaching, but and then you look at, you say your goal out loud every morning and every night, and you probably do that, at least in your head. You're referring to it all the time, your dream.
Not even so. What interesting is that I'm looking at right now is all of my notepads, my white line notepads are right here. But I've written down everything, and then everything has been happening. And literally this past week, I had 3 names of people who I wanted to bring in to become a part of our XXO Connect team as teaching. And I wrote their names last week in my white line paper is like the team to start. They're all working with us now. I've spoken with them all this week, and like everything I've done is it just happens. And
that's because you're passionate about your dream, and the universe is working to help make that happen.
You're aligned. It's the alignment. I'm convinced that you can manipulate time and you can play with energy. I think there's nothing more powerful than that.
Yeah. There's another book called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. I'll send those both to you because to the links or something, because they are really good books, but you're doing what is written in these books. The Science of Getting Rich was written in 1910, and it's all about how working with the universe.
Yeah. Yep.
To get things done. And that's exactly what you're doing. It's awesome.
It's fun.
It's awesome. And you have faith and you have gratitude.
Yeah. And what I don't have is a belief in reality. And that was one thing that I let go that day, that morning, when I stopped believing in reality and it totally opened up. It's like I was able to clear space to create space to move forward. It's like I gave myself permission to move forward with nothing pulling me back.
Yeah.
And a lot of this too is going back to the relationships I was in and starting first the offline matchmaking service. Was the way I look at it today is we're more connected than ever before. We have all these different platforms and hundreds of thousands of apps to stay connected, and yet isolation and loneliness, mental health, isolation and loneliness are on the rise right now. Mental health and self-worth are on the fall. And while we're searching for connection, we're getting caught up in connections and everything else. And relationships are not built on convenience. They're built on connection. And that's to yourself too. And what I'm seeing happen is we're in this convenience world, which I get, but there's a time for you have to have that connection to self first. And so that really, really also kind of pulls me forward with building this out.
What do you mean? You said something earlier, so like you don't believe in reality, or you're not. What I think that you're hitting on something that he says in this book, The Science of Getting Rich. He says you have to believe in truth. Like when I see my checking account and it has, I'm just going to make up a number, $10 in it. That's the reality of that 1 second in time that it had $10 in it. But truth is that more is coming. The universe is conspiring that I'm working towards my goal, and more is coming. And that's what you're saying. The truth is that this is all coming together for you. Even some days it might not seem it.
If you back up a little bit, and you're saying some people they'll have this idea and this dream and they want to do it. And then they say, well, how am I going to do that? And they give up. Well, they just bought into what I'm saying. They bought into reality.
Yeah.
But when you can eliminate that,
right,
it opens up all possibilities. And we all have that. No matter what it is, we all have that. We can get past that.
Mm-hmm. No, it's awesome to talk to you about this now, because the timing is just right. Because we met a few months ago, and then we wanted to get you on the podcast, but I didn't have any spaces. And then
you're booked up for the next couple of years.
Yeah. And then Peru trip got canceled. So then I was able to move you in. But now the timing is such that I've kind of read some of these books, and I'm seeing that you're doing everything that these guys are saying in these books. And this is what when you watch that movie The Secret, and what like Bob Proctor and Mary Morrissey and some of these others that coach in this area, this is all about what they're talking about. You're living it, and it's awesome to see it.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It could, it just happens in front of you. It's you do these things, and at some point, all of a sudden, it's there.
So what are people saying that are in this community? What are they saying about it? What's the feedback that you're getting?
They're loving it because there's not an environment like that for them. And so it's, as we talked about, getting away from the distraction and the noise and to really go within. It's a place where we created a safe space, free of judgment, to do the inner work, but be surrounded by and be supported by an amazing community. And so the conversations that happen and things that I won't say because they were so private from people.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, things that people held on to shame for their whole lives, things that they've never been able to admit or never brought out and had these moments. This happens in all of our classes. And it's like, wow. I mean, I get the chills when I say that. And we just had another one, the other day, and it's just like every class this happens. And so I know we're onto something, and I know our members love what they're experiencing. And I can't wait to now try this with a singles community, and to give them also, whoever's single, the chance really to date themselves first and have the relationship with themselves, and really be in a different environment than they're so used to of doing this and looking at profiles, so it's really, our members are really loving the experience, and I'm loving being with them during the experience.
How do you date yourself?
You spend time with yourself, which so many people, you never lose that relationship with yourself. And people struggle with this, myself included. I was such a codependent. I wanted to spend all of my time with my partners, the person I was in a relationship with. In doing so, you suffocate the relationship. It doesn't breathe. And at some point, somebody's going to outgrow the relationship. And so you need to continue dating yourself, spending time with yourself, getting to know yourself, continuing that relationship with yourself. You need to, as we talked about, doing the personal growth, personal development, and continuing to get to know, doing that work on your own, separate from the person you are with. And I call it having a threesome. And what I mean by that is that you continuing the relationship with yourself on your own, your partner doing the same. And then when you guys come together to have a beautiful relationship, a partnership, but you're not there. They don't complete you. They're not there to, you're there to support each other, but not live each other's lives.
So yeah, like journaling, really just being aware and notice what you're noticing, like being aware of what you're thinking, what you're feeling. I think for the longest time, I wasn't even really aware because I was just so busy. I didn't slow down enough to be aware, to get to know myself. That's what you mean, right? I'm thinking.
Yeah. Going without to go within, putting the phone down for a while, or just going to do things on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go out to eat by yourself.
That too. Yeah. Just spend time with yourself.
Yeah.
There's something you're really getting to know yourself in, and there's a beauty in that. And I think another thing too is, with what I see with dating, is everybody wants to be accepted also. So they're so worked up and consumed over, what does this person think of me? Do they like me? Are they having a good time with me? Are they into me? All these different things. Once you have that healthy relationship with yourself, that stuff kind of goes away. You're there to have a good time with yourself. It's not your responsibility to make sure they're having a good time.
Yeah.
It's great if they do, but I don't need them to like me. I love myself. And so having that relationship with yourself changes everything. And that shifts your energy. It definitely shifts your energy when you're in that alignment.
Yeah, definitely. So how do people join your community? How do they find out about it? How do you advertise what you're doing? Besides, I know right now you're advertising it. But...
Yeah, xxoconnect.com. Really, we haven't done any paid advertising yet. We haven't started any campaigns or anything else.
Oh, okay.
We've done it just from meeting people, being on the platforms, having conversations offline, and kind of word of mouth. We've done that, and we will do more stepping up with marketing and advertising, but we haven't done it yet.
How many people are in there now?
We're about 60 plus right now, somewhere around there.
Oh, okay. So it's a small group too. It just kind
Small
of cool to
group.
be in get in now.
Get in now. Within 3 months, I'm set to go to 10,000 members with the singles community. So that'll be a big increase.
So that's your dream. And how do you know how you're going to get there?
I do. Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, I do what I've been doing. I'm going to continue to do, and I will get there. Yeah, I've teamed up with some amazing, incredible people too, that will be building this out with me.
Yeah. Do you ever feel unsure? And then how do you handle that if you do?
I'm weird that I like living in the unknown, and so I'm comfortable in the unknown. While many people they need to know everything first.
Mm-hmm.
I love being in the unknown and just making a decision fast and jumping into it, and I figure it out because it'll always lead me somewhere. Might not lead me exactly where I'm trying to go, but it'll lead me somewhere, and I can always move around. That's how I've done everything, and so for me, I'm comfortable in the unknown.
Are you in a mastermind? Like but you hang out with people that believe
I hang out. Well, I mean, I hang out with all these amazing teachers every day, and so it's like I'm surrounded by these incredible humans talking about all these different things.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that.
It's kind of like a mastermind. I mean, everything you're saying is in those 2 books I was reading. It's about, like, Napoleon Hill says, and his book, that Think and Grow Rich, is one of the, I don't know how many people have read that book, but he talks about being in a mastermind, having your dream. And then they talk about being in a mastermind, and then there was something else that you just said that, was exactly what they're saying. You're doing all the right things, which is so cool. And just knowing that you're going to get there, just having that knowing. And, I know, people who are rich or achieve their dreams, however you want to say it, make decisions quickly. They don't, and that's what you said. You just make a decision and you go, and then you might have to redirect, but they don't, like, sit there and panic over it or worry about it or can't make up their mind, and then just are frozen by indecision. You just got to keep going. That's what I said.
Yes. Yeah. I almost, though, not making a decision can almost become an excuse. I mean, to me, a lot of times too, it's like, you want the perfection, you want everything done, you want to put this out in its final product or whatever you want to call this, polished. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't.
And so if you're waiting for it to do that, you become irrelevant. You miss the moment of what you're trying to do. And for me, I can make decisions just like this, and I'm led by intuition. And so I'm not worried if I do something. And here's a great example. And I love that I can say this, and I love that it lives out there, is Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
When we first, and I don't know if you knew that we went live for 24 hours. We did a 24-hour live telethon on LinkedIn in November. And it was to raise money to build out our platform, to build out the app I wanted to do. And we used Kickstarter as a crowdfunding to raise money to build this, because I was not going to do this with investors.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to compromise the integrity of what I wanted to do, and I wanted to keep this independent. Our Kickstarter campaign ended, and the way Kickstarter works, it's all or nothing. We needed $150,000 to build out the technology for what I wanted to do at the time. Well, December 20th or right around there, Kickstarter campaign ended. We got our ass kicked. Like, we did not even come close. If anybody goes to Kickstarter today and looks at it, it'll live there for the rest of their lives. Everybody can see its active page. Campaign is over. XXO Connect did not reach their goal.
So the way it works, like, you needed 100, you wanted 150. So if at the end of that time you had 100, you don't get that 100.
If it was 149.9, but we didn't get you get nothing. It takes nothing out of whoever put in to pledge. It won't take it out of their accounts either. We get zero though. So we got zero. And so from December 20th or 17th, it was like right there. Within 3 weeks, I figured out how to set up to start the beginning of a platform. And then I spent months figuring out how to scale down from what I wanted to do and build the technology myself, which I didn't have $150,000. So I had to figure out different ways to do it. It wasn't exactly how I saw, but I made a decision at the time. It didn't work, and we moved forward with it. And so to me, it doesn't matter. You make a decision and you figure it out.
I love what you said. You made a decision. It didn't work, and I moved forward.
It brought us to a different place. Yeah, it'll always lead you well.
It didn't work, so I quit.
Yeah, so many people quit. That's like the end all be all. If this didn't work, so let's quit. But there's so many more possibilities behind these doors.
So have you always had this attitude about like not quitting and just being and pursuing your dreams, or is it?
To an extent, I've had that in me with different areas of my life I've been involved with, but it really all came to a head, I think, when I talked about in the past with the relationships and then my transformation and now where I am today. It's like I had all of this, but I didn't have this. And when I put it together, it's kind of like I let go, we're no longer, it's like whatever weight that was holding me down, it no longer served me. And I was able to let go. And when that happened, I was able to like just kind of launch.
Do you think that happens after you've had some experience in living, or could it happen to somebody in their 20s? I wonder.
It's life experience, but I also don't think it's discriminated on age. So I think we all come into life at different times. And this is why some people who can be in their 20s can be coming into this. And I always think they're early in the game, they're early in life. But I'll say the same thing to people who I have these conversations with who are 50, 60, and they're just getting started. And I still think because they're getting started and they have a chance to get started, they're still early in the game. They're early in their life too.
Yes.
And so, and I love that. We all can get started at any given time. So I don't think it discriminates on age. We all come into our timelines all look different. What I don't agree with is the life timeline that the belief, the reality of what we've grown up with, at least myself and our generation. I think that's completely outdated and expired. And I think I see all the time when somebody lives by that, they're living somebody else's life.
Mm-hmm.
So it can come at any given age. And I think it doesn't, I don't think it just comes at one age too. I think it keeps coming in different ways also. So it doesn't mean because it hits you at 20, that's it. 20, you're just getting started. But when you hit 30, you're just getting started. 40, 50, you're just getting started. So I think it can follow you as well.
Yeah, no. I
don't believe in a finish line either. A lot of people are trying to get to a finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's like running on the extended course where there is no finish line. To me, a finish line, like I don't want to just exist in life. I want to keep going and figuring. I have that curiosity, and I know you do too. I can see.
Yeah. No, I know. I think about like my grandmother. She learned to swim when she was 70. My dad is 86. He's learning piano now. Yeah. And he's like, oh, look at this. You can go online and there's this course and you can do it with your own pace. It's so funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And he had a flip phone, but he finally got a smartphone because he wanted to, as he was reading, look up the words of, like, he had this notebook where every word he didn't know the definition, he would write it down and then he'd have to go upstairs and look at it on his computer. So now he has a smartphone and he's looking it up there. It's so fun to see my parents still learning. And my mom just got a kiln and she's 77. She just got a kiln and she made this mug for, she's made so many different things. And it's just so cool to see my parents still learning at that age. I mean, people think retirement means sitting, we used to think, and it's not anymore, that retirement is just like you're done, you're just going to sit in front of the TV. There's so much to just keep going. And parents are looking for a place. Maybe you can find it in your community. They want to find a place that has like 40 hours in a day. They need more time. So if you know of a place that has 40 hours in a day, they want to move there.
Well, I'm convinced that you can manipulate time.
Okay.
So you really can. You can get the 40 hours out of a day. And I think when you come into alignment with yourself in talking about energy, you can be kind of laser focused. You can do so much more in so little time.
Oh,
less time. So you can manipulate time.
You know what? What you just said is so true too, because I have to write a lot of content sometimes, and that's something I put off, right? I don't like doing it. So I can't remember the name of this, but there's a term for this. But anyway, I'm with a group of 3 or 4 women. We meet every Wednesday from 10 to 11:30 on Zoom.
Yeah.
There's a word for this. It begins with a P, but I can't think of the name. And we tell each other what we're going to write, what we're going to do, and then we just start doing it. And we're still on Zoom, but we're not looking at each other. We're just typing away. And then someone will say, well, check back in 30 minutes and see what we did. And so then I'm just typing away. And then someone says, okay, what are we doing now? And I'm like, because I forgot that they're even there, because time was and I got so much more done.
That is, I don't know if it's the word you're looking for, but it's called the quantum field, where you are so present that you lose track of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And people talk about time being like the most important thing, and you never get back time, and time is money and these things. And I don't believe that. I believe it's energy. You can't manage time. You can manipulate time. You can't manage time, but you can manage energy. And so when you can put all your energy in one place, and people can take away your energy in all different ways and levels. It's without boundaries. People can drain your energy. And so if you can reserve it and preserve it for exactly what you need to do, you can get that much more done. And that's when you can manipulate time. I'm convinced of that. And I do it, and I've seen others do it too. And I doubt I'm not the one that created this concept, but I live it though. And it works.
No, yeah, I could see you live. I interviewed a guy who is a physicist. I've interviewed him 3 times. His name is Sky Nelson, and he's always when I interview him, he's like, I can't really understand everything he's saying, but it's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I did feel it when I'm just was so focused, and it was really cool. I can't remember the name of the term though, but it wasn't what you said, but I never even put it with quantum physics, but because that's above my head.
Yeah, it's above my head too. I understand the most basic concept of it, but
yeah,
that's how you do it though. And I love how you were able to go so far with it that you lost track of everything and you were just so present in the moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I got so much done.
See? Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
No distractions.
So how do people, so they just go to your website if they want to sign up, and do you have a membership fee, or is, how does that work?
Yeah, it's a monthly fee. It's $15 a month. They give access to all of our live interactive classes, which we have at least once a day, daily, some twice a day, to our video library of all the replays of everything. They have access to download the app to have the video chat with all of our members. They can create their own communities inside the app. They'll have access to, if they happen to be single, to the singles community. And we just keep adding more things to this, but that alone, that's all $15 a month.
That's pretty good.
They have access to when I say they're talking with therapists and all these amazing people. They're not clinical. They don't feel like clinical. They're conversations, but they're not courses. They're in there with whoever's teaching. They can see them. They can talk to them. They can ask a question. So they have direct conversations with all these teachers. So
yeah,
that's kind of the fun of it.
It's not like an online course or a webinar where someone's just talking at you.
No, it's a completely open conversation with the expert who has the tools, with also the community. This goes on every day.
That's awesome, Jason.
Yeah.
Congratulations on
Thank you.
Following your dream.
Thank you.
And not having that attitude, well, that's not possible, just because you can't see exactly how to make it happen.
You figure it out.
Yeah.
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 If you don't like something, change it, but don't complain about it.
Mm-hmm.
We all have the ability. If we don't like something, you can change it.
Yeah.
And if not, then create it.
Yeah, you're right.
And the other thing I'll leave with this too is that we can get stuck in our tunnel vision of our narrow view of what we see. So wherever environment that we see of our 100 followers, friends, 1,000, 10,000, whatever the number is. That's all you're seeing in your feed, and that's like your world. But we forget about there's 7.5 billion people in the
Billion.
world, so we're not seeing the other 7.4999 billion, whatever number it is. And so everybody's saying, well, if they're doing it, I can't do it. We go back to that comparison. We're not as good. We can't do it if they've done it or they've already done it. There's enough to go around. And it goes back to that, I guess, abundance. But
Thank you, Jason. I really enjoyed this conversation.
absolutely.
Thank you, Jason, for an awesome Onward podcast interview. Listeners, check out xxoconnect.com and learn about all the new things that Jason's been adding and what you can get out of that social platform. He's recently added Rack Vision, which is a 17 and under youth social network. So check that out as well. This Onward podcast episode and all of my episodes are brought to you by my business, Emily Harmon Coaching and Consulting. You can go to my website, emilyharmon.com, to learn all about the coaching programs that I offer. And I can also tailor a program specifically to meet your needs. So check it out and schedule a meeting with me, and let's have a conversation and see if we connect. Whenever you decide to invest in a coach, I highly recommend that you invest in a coach that invests in themselves and that you conduct an interview, because you're choosing somebody that you want to work with to help you achieve your goals, to help you accomplish your dreams, to help you create a life that you love living. Let's move onward together.